ClearIAS. I am Dr. Ramyasri NPC, an educator at ClearIAS. A military exercise or war game is the deployment of military resources in training for military operations, which focuses on the simulation of real, full-scale military operations in controlled hostile conditions to reproduce wartime decisions and activities. Military exercise is a method of testing the performance of armed forces without actually putting them to the test on the battlefield. Indian military conducts a large number of such military exercises at various levels. These are quite important for UPSC exams. You can expect direct questions on military exercises for your preliminary examination. So, today we'll be discussing about various military exercises conducted by Indian Armed Forces. First of all, let's see a previously asked question.
Hand in Hand 2007, a joint anti-terrorism military training was held by the officers of the Indian Army and officers of Army of which one of the following countries? Option A, China, option B, Japan, C, Russia, and option D, United States of America. This question was asked in the year 2008. Here the answer is option A, China. The military exercises conducted by India are primarily of three types: bilateral, multilateral, and domestic exercises. Bilateral exercises are those conducted between two countries. Indian Armed Forces conducts or participates in various bilateral military exercises with foreign countries. Let's see the list of such exercises. India conducts a large number of bilateral and multilateral military exercises with USA. Vajraprahar and Youth Abhyas are the exercises conducted between the armies of both the countries. COP India and Red Flag are the exercises conducted by air forces of both the countries. Tiger Triumph is a tri-service exercise in which all the three wings of military are taking part. Spitting Cobra is an Indian and US Navy explosive ordnance disposal exercise. Sangam is an exercise by Indian and US Navy Special Forces. Coming to the exercises between India and United Kingdom, Ajaya Warrior, Emerald Mercury and Himalayan Warrior are the exercises conducted between the armies of both the countries. Konkan is a Navy exercise and Indradhanush is between air forces of India and United Kingdom. Between India and France, the armies conduct exercise Shakti. Exercise Varuna is by navies and Garuda by air forces of both the countries. Exercise Cyclone is the bilateral exercise between India and Egypt. Exercise Blue Flag is the air exercise between India and Israel. Bilateral military exercises between India and UAE are Desert Eagle, which is an Air Force exercise, and Zayed Talwa 2021, which was a Navy exercise. Zair al-Bahr is the joint naval exercises between India and Qatar. Bilateral exercises between India and Oman are Nasim al-Bahr or Sea Breeze, which is the naval exercise, Al-Naga, the army exercise, and Eastern Bridge, which is the Indo-Oman air exercise. Between India and Sri Lanka, Mitra Shakti is the army exercise, Slinex is the Navy exercise, and India and Sri Lankan Navy Special Forces exercise is also there. Lamiche is the joint military exercise between Indian Army and Seychelles Defence Forces. Ekata is the joint training exercise between the navies of India and Maldives. Equivalent is the army exercise between both the countries. Sampriti exercise is the bilateral defence cooperation exercise between the armies of India and Bangladesh. Indian and Bangladesh militaries also conduct India-Bangladesh Corpat, India-Bangladesh Bilat, India-Bangladesh Special Forces exercise, and tabletop exercise. Joint military exercises between India and Myanmar include India-Myanmar Bilateral Army Exercise or IMBAX, India-Myanmar Coordinated Patrol or IMCOR, India-Myanmar Bilateral Exercise, and Tabletop Exercise. Between India and Thailand, Maitri is the bilateral exercise conducted between Indian Army and Royal Thai Army. India and Thailand have been carrying out Indo-Thai Corpat along the International Maritime Boundary Line twice a year since 2005. Siam Bharat is the air exercise between India and Thailand. India and Vietnam jointly conduct the India-Vietnam Bilateral Army Exercise or WINBAX, Indian Navy Vietnam People's Navy Bilateral Exercise, and Sahyok, which is the joint exercise of Coast Guards of India and Vietnam. Exercises between India and Malaysia are Harimau Shakti, Indian Navy and Royal Malaysian Navy bilateral exercise, and exercise HOP, which is the joint air exercise between the Royal Malaysian Air Force and Indian Air Force. Coming to the bilateral exercises between Indian and Indonesian military, Garuda Shakti is the bilateral exercise between special forces of armies of India and Indonesia. India-Indonesia Coordinated Patrol or CORPAT is held in Indian Ocean twice in a year to ensure safety and security. Samudra Shakti is the bilateral maritime exercise between Indian Navy and Indonesian Navy. Joint military exercises between India and Singapore are Bold Kurukshetra, which is the army exercise, and Singapore-India Maritime Bilateral Exercise or SIMBEX. Exercises between India and Japan are Japan Maritime Bilateral Exercise or JIMEX, the annual army exercise Dharma Guardian, and Joint Air Force exercise Shinyu Maitri. Joint exercises between India and Australia are Exercise Austra Hind, which is a bilateral exercise with Army, and Exercise Osindex, which is the joint naval exercise. Surya Kiran is the bilateral joint military exercise between India and Nepal, where Indian and Nepal armies participate. Hand-in-hand exercise is India-China joint military exercise, which takes place between the armies of both the countries. Nomadic Elephant is a joint military exercise between India and Mongolia. Between India and Uzbekistan, Desert Strike was the exercise conducted by Indian Army and Uzbekistan Special Forces in 2006, and exercise Dustalik, which is mainly focused on counter-terrorism operations. Khanjar is the India-Kyrgyzstan Joint Special Forces exercise. Joint exercises between India and Kazakhstan are Prabal Dostik, which is a joint training exercise between the two armies, and Kasind, which is also an army exercise. Indra is the joint military training exercise between India and Russia. Avia Indra is the Air Force level exercise between Indian and the Russian Federation. Multilateral exercises are those conducted by the militaries of more than two countries. Important multilateral military exercises include Exercise Malabar, which is a multilateral wargaming naval exercise which was started in 1992. It began as a bilateral exercise between the navies of India and the US. Currently, the navies of India, the United States, Japan and Australia are participating in the Malabar exercise. Cobra Gold is one of the Asia-Pacific region's largest multinational military exercises that is held in Thailand every year. It is a Thai-American initiative with an aim to improve coordination between the armed forces. RIMPAC, the Rim of the Pacific exercise, is the world's largest international maritime exercise. It is held biennially in the Western Pacific Ocean, which is hosted and administered by the US Navy. Samvedna is the first humanitarian assistance and disaster relief exercise of the Indian Air Force in association with South Asian region nations. MILEX is a multilateral exercise for the member countries of BIMSTEC. AFINDEX is the Africa-India Joint Field Training Exercise, which is conducted between the armies of India and 16 African nations. MEDEX is a field training exercise of ASEAN and ASEAN Plus countries on military medicine. Peace Mission is a multinational military exercise organized by Shanghai Cooperation Organization to foster close relations between SCO member states. This is a joint counter-terrorism exercise which is conducted biennially as part of military diplomacy between Shanghai Cooperation Organization member states. Exercise Komodo is a multilateral humanitarian assistance and disaster relief exercise by the Indonesian Navy. It is annually held between the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean. The participants include India, Indonesia, USA, China, Russia, New Zealand, South Korea, Japan, Singapore, Malaysia, Brunei, Thailand, Vietnam, Philippines and Laos. Exercise Kakadu, which started in 1993, is a multilateral regional maritime engagement exercise hosted by the Royal Australian Navy and supported by the Royal Australian Air Force. It is held biennially in Darwin and the Northern Australian exercise areas. Exercise Dosti is a biennial trilateral Coast Guard exercise involving India, the Maldives and Sri Lanka. Exercise Pitch Black is a multilateral air combat training exercise hosted by the Royal Australian Air Force. And Milan is a biennial multilateral naval exercise hosted by Indian Navy. Apart from bilateral and multilateral exercises, Indian military also conducts domestic exercises to improve internal engagements. There can be inter-services or intra-services exercises depending on nature and its application. Some of the domestic exercises include Gandhi Vijay by Chetak Corps of Southwestern Command of Indian Army. Him Vijay was Indian Army's biggest mountain combat exercise. Hamesha Vijayi was an exercise conducted in an integrated air-land battle scenario by Southern Command of Indian Army. Exercise Sindhu Sudarshan was the desert exercise by Indian Army conducted in Thar Desert in Rajasthan. Vayu Shakti is a triennial exercise aimed at showcasing the capability of Indian Air Force to conduct full spectrum operations and to see the participation of aircraft and helicopters, transport aircraft and unmanned aerial vehicles. Hind Shakti is the domestic exercise by 2nd Corps and Thar Shakti by 10th Corps. Vijay Prahar was Indian Army's exercise conducted by Southwestern Command of Indian Army. It was aimed to orchestrate wide spectrum of threats including nuclear, chemical or biological attack, which are planned to be tackled through high-tempo joint air and land operation. Operation Mekha Prahar was the battle exercise conducted by Indian Army on the banks of the Yamuna River. The exercise Paschim Lahar was conducted to enhance the operational cooperation among the Indian Army, Indian Navy and the Coast Guard. Dance is the Defense of Andaman and Nicobar Islands exercise, which was a large joint exercise conducted by the Andaman and Nicobar Command. And Sea Vigil is a biennial pan-India coastal defense exercise, in which assets of the Indian Navy, Coast Guard, Customs and other maritime agencies are participating.
So, we have discussed most of the important military exercises conducted by Indian Armed Forces at various levels which are important for your exam point of view. See you with another important revision topic in the next video. Thank you.